Hello, this is Flurry Moon. Welcome back to my channel. In the last decade, but especially within the last 5 or so years, cozy games have been all the rage. Something you can settle in with after a long, stressful day, light a candle, grab your iced coffee, snuggle under a blanket, and escape your real life by experiencing a relaxing and stress-free one in the virtual world of your choosing. Whether you pick Animal Crossing, a cute and chill life sim where you live amongst animals, Stardew Valley, or Harvest Moon, where you inherit your grandfather's land and settle into your new cozy life as the new farmer in town, or if cozy means something a little different to you, your favorite Pokemon game or comforting RPG. But with the rise of cozy games comes the lazy, uninspired, and soulless copies. The game developers and companies who see the hype around the genre and think it's an easy way to make a quick buck, causing many of the newer entries to feel essentially like they have no personality. So I thought it would be fun to take a deep dive into the rise and fall of cozy games, why that is, and which ones are actually very much worth your time. Oh wait, before we get into this, I know, where am I? Louis is feeling sick, so I let him take the bed to relax in and sleep, and so I was like, fine, I'll film in the basement. If you're like, ew, I hate this, don't worry. But one thing, the audio down here is a lot better, so I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. So first, what is a cozy game? It's such a vague title, so I personally think whatever makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside and relaxes you is a cozy game. Your brother who is screaming at his PC is probably not playing a cozy game. However, I have gotten unnecessarily angry at Animal Crossing New Horizons when I was trying to catch a butterfly and I kept missing. So Wikipedia says, quote, "A cozy game is a video game genre that emphasizes non-violence and relaxation. Initially derived from the life simulation genre, cozy games commonly include activities such as gathering and growing plants and nurturing other characters. They often have open-minded goals that encourage self-expression." However, I have games that technically have violence and I still view as a cozy game, so it really is subjective in my opinion. Everyone has their own idea of what cozy means to them. Later in this video, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite cozy games, and I just know I'm gonna get a ton of comments saying like,
that's not a cozy game, it's an RPG, it's an adventure game, it's a Pokemon.
I don't care. Take a shot every time I say cozy in this effing video. Now that we have a better idea of what we're getting into, let's start from what I think is the beginning. Now, the term cozy game wasn't really used frequently until around after 2017. However, that doesn't mean the genre didn't exist before that. Many posts actually date back to 2013 asking for recommendations for some comfy games. But when did the genre actually begin? This is debatable, but in my eyes, the first cozy game, as we know it today, would probably be Harvest Moon, first releasing on the SNES in 1996. In fact, this would be the first ever farming simulation game. This is why an angel dies every time someone says Harvest Moon or Story of Seasons is just a copy of Stardew Valley. It kills me. But Harvest Moon was not just a game that included farming aspects. That was the entire plot. Not to mention, a major aspect of the game was to befriend the townspeople, even having the ability to marry one and start a family. In order to get closer with those special to you, you would need to shower them with their favorite gifts and view all of their special romantic cutscenes. What are we drinking today? I have an iced coffee with birthday cake Chobani creamer. When I found out that this is a thing, you have no idea. I really look like a redhead today. Oh my god, this is just gonna fuel the hair color allegations even more. It's hard to say where romantic cutscenes began in video games, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tokimeki Memorial was a part of the inspiration for this. The game would continue to thrive and grow well into the 2000s, introducing iconic entries in the series such as Harvest Moon 64, Game Boy, Back to Nature, Friends of Mineral Town, A Wonderful Life, DS and DS Cute, and so on. The 2010s was filled with many DS, 3DS, and even Wii entries, with Animal Parade on the Wii still being being considered one of the best in the series due to its incredible family mechanics, lovable and interesting characters, and the many goals that keep you playing, despite its insanely long loading screens. However, with the glitches, shitty game mechanics, and terrible grinding in some of these games, we get so much personality and odd quirks that just make you go, huh? I'm going to talk about Harvest Moon DS and DS Cute later, but that game is the most quirky thing I've ever played in my entire life. You can poison the town by putting a poison mushroom in the soup pot during a festival. Your face turns blue when you overwork yourself and the music gets really scary and dissonant. Your mermaid wife can get blown away in a storm. If you want to know more context, we'll get to it later. In Friends of Mineral Town, you can marry the Kappa, who gets you pregnant and then only visits you once a month. What? In Harvest Moon 64, you can accidentally kill your old lady neighbor by speaking to her when her chair is rocking back and forth. In that same game, your wife can literally leave with the kid if you lower her affection enough, although they do come right back home after you go after her. Loyal queen. My point is that the series isn't just harvesting carrots. Harvest Moon is filled with oddities and quirks, especially in the earlier years. And those oddities and quirks are what I think some of these new games are missing. The 3DS would bring us one of my favorites in the entire series, Trio of Towns. I could talk about this game for hours and hours and hours. 3 different towns with 3 large groups of villagers. So many clothing and hair options, the dialogue, the villagers actually changing their dialogue based on where you are in the game, the dating mechanic, so many romantic cutscenes, the bachelors and bachelorettes, this man, my husband, our son. There are no words for how good this game is. After this, we'd receive a few remakes on the Switch, such as Friends of Mineral Town and A Wonderful Life, and a few original entries. But anyway, I talk about Harvest Moon so much because I genuinely believe it is one of the 2 games that contributed to the making of the cozy game genre. The other one, you may ask? Animal Crossing. This is probably the game that most people think of when they hear cozy. First released in 2001 in Japan for the Nintendo 64, then on GameCube in the US in 2002, you enter an already established town as the only human living amongst talking animals, who are quick to make you feel like the new kid. However, the closer you get with your villagers, the quicker they are to warm up to you and make you smile. It's up to you to pay off your home loan because nothing in this life is free, as Tom Nook, your Tanuki landlord, is very quick to remind you, constantly. In doing so, though, you get to upgrade your house each time, filling your new free space with all kinds of furniture from the store, which you can also upgrade over time. Although this first game is sometimes seen as boring, which I respectfully disagree, it really is the blueprint of what the rest of the series would become. That series going on to inspire are probably most of the cozy games we see today. Throughout the years, more mechanics and quality of life changes would be implemented. With each game, your player would get more and more control over the town. New Leaf allowed you to be the mayor, and New Horizons gave you the part of resident representative. Villagers would come and go with each game, and with the newest entry, Animal Crossing New Horizons, came the villager hunting mechanic. This would allow you to visit multiple randomized islands over and over again, each island offering you a different mystery villager. If you found one you wanted and had a free space on your island, you can invite the villager to move in. Some of the personality I'm referencing throughout this video is something Animal Crossing absolutely perfected in its early years. Your villager randomly calling you ugly and poor just because you caught them on a bad day. Mr. Rossetti verbally assaulting you because you forgot to save your game. These weird little dancing things called gyroids that are actually inspired by Haniwa, an ancient Japanese statue often buried with the dead. The villagers just moving out without anything you can do to stop it, but of course not without saying goodbye, because you really made an impact on them. Although a little brutal, I do miss this game mechanic. In Animal Crossing New Horizons, you're kind of given godlike power over your entire town, with nobody being able to leave without your permission. But in those older games, you didn't have control over whether people stayed in your life or not, like in real life. Anyway, although the game over the years has lost a bit of that original quirkiness, the game still stands as one of of the most popular cozy games. Due to the real-time clock mechanic and laid-back energy, you can live in your own virtual town with a bunch of mostly cute animals with no care in the world. With the newest Animal Crossing game coming out in March of 2020, trauma, everyone and their mother was playing this game. Gamers, non-gamers, longtime Animal Crossing fans, people who have never even picked up an Animal Crossing game. We were all bored as hell, and it was a really nice way to communicate with our friends who we couldn't really see in person. This without a doubt contributed to the cozy genre shooting into the mainstream. However, Animal Crossing was not the only one responsible for this, which brings us to Stardew Valley. How could I make a video about cozy games without talking about the icon? On February 26th, 2016, an indie game developed by Concerned Ape, just one dude, by the way, called Stardew Valley, was released on Windows. To best explain it, this game took what Harvest Moon had been doing since the 90s, but heavily improved upon many aspects, as well as, of course, introducing its very own special mechanics, storylines, and overall flair. You inherit your deceased grandfather's farmland and begin your life as a new resident of Stardew Valley, along with making friends, dating, getting married, and having kids. All of this is optional, by the way. Another thing, you could be gay. This was a huge step up from years of being forced to play as the opposite gender if they wanted to date and marry the same sex. You could also date as many people at once as you wanted. Not only that, but the mining aspect was interesting and fleshed out, as well as the overall goal of either rebuilding the community center or taking the Joja route and turning the community center into a Joja warehouse, which is basically the capitalist approach to the game, which actually changes quite a bit about your playthrough. Not to mention the whole mysterious Mr. Chi quest, no spoilers of course. There is just so much content that comes with this game. I've been playing it for years and I still find new surprises with each playthrough. With how popular this game has become, I do believe this is a huge reason why the cozy genre is as big as it is. Which leads us to cozy games now. Nowadays, as cozy gamers have played Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing over and over again to the point that they want something new, game companies are ready to give it to them. However, it's possible that the hype around cozy games has actually harmed the genre exponentially. Many gamers have been left disappointed and underwhelmed by recent entries into the genre. Now, there are quite a few games that I can't speak on from experience, so I'll try not to go too in on games that I haven't even given a try. I usually wait a bit to try games that I'm not too sure about, and then if I see like a ton of outrage, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll sit this one out. So that's why I don't have a lot of knowledge on these games that people don't really like. Obviously, I like to come to my own conclusions most of the time, but with these like $50 to $60 games, like, I'm gonna look at the reviews first. I'm sorry. One cozy game I did play though was Hako Life. I made a video actually a while ago playing this game, calling it an Animal Crossing ripoff, and I do stand by that. But I had initially bought it because I was getting a little bored of Animal Crossing and wanted to try something new. That was my first mistake. The character art style is terrifying, not to mention the bland and drab coloring of the entire game. Then you meet the villagers. Oh my god. This game has been widely described as Animal Crossing if the animals were not cute. The running animation looks insane, but I could get over all of that if there was incentive to play it over Animal Crossing, or even as well as Animal Crossing. And I just don't think there is. The game doesn't contribute enough to stand out from what it was taking inspiration from. Another game that had actually a good amount of hype around it before it came out, but ended up leaving fans feeling a little disappointed, was Fae Farm. Released at $60, yet buggy for many players, character designs and personalities are a little bland, storyline isn't intriguing enough, etc. Take this with a grain of salt. Again, I did not play this game. However, if you have played Fae Farm, whether you had a good or bad experience, I would love to hear your opinion in the comments. A more recent release, Pixelshire, was something a lot of cozy games had been anticipating for years. However, upon release, the experience was a buggy mess. Note that this was not an early access release, so the game should have been pretty much finished. The fact that I can't even say that confidently, because most if not all games are released unfinished nowadays, which we'll go over later. Fans have complained about the extremely short seasons in the game, especially considering only winter and summer are available for some reason. Poor controls, items disappear randomly, quests become unable to complete due to the glitches and bugs, and most players have just not had great experiences. Not only that, but the game is $20. That is more expensive than Stardew Valley, by the way, the game it's inspired by. And not only that, but I have seen various complaints about the developer leaving pretty defensive comments at those who have complained about the buggy mess that is this game. Although they have taken accountability, which is great, but that bad attitude has rubbed people the wrong way a lot more than just the glitchiness of the game. But this isn't to say all new cozy games are bad. I don't believe that at all. I have played some games released in the last few years that I have had tons of fun with, and I will actually be talking about 2 later on. One that I'll be mentioning later. Calico is one of the quirkiest cozy games I've ever played. It's unique, has baking aspects, and very animal-oriented. I love it. Hello Kitty Island Adventure has exceeded my and many others' expectations, and you can tell how much love was really put into it, especially considering the fact that they could have just thrown together something lazily and sloppily, because, I mean, if it's Sanrio, the Hello Kitty girls will play it no matter how good the game is, so I really appreciate the fact that they went above and beyond when they didn't really have to. My time at Sandrock, although runs only okay on the Switch, gave me hours and hours of fun, likable characters, and a unique story. I can't really ask for much else. But as for these lazy and soulless cozy games, why? When something gains popularity, out come the vultures who try to profit off of it, with the least amount of work possible. That's huge. Some of these cozy game copies are not necessarily bad, but lack originality and, most importantly to me, personality. I would take a game that has glitches here and there and doesn't run perfectly, but has originality and overall personality over a game that runs perfectly but is boring. That's my hot take. But what I think a lot of these new cozy game developers aren't understanding, maybe it's just me, but I don't play Animal Crossing just because I want to see cute villagers. It's everything else that comes with it. The quirky characters and offbeat dialogue, memorable art style and music, my villagers in each town that are waiting for me to log back on. But these game companies see the success and are like, oh, cute animals in a town? We can do that, but are missing the point of what makes the original so popular in the first place. There's a reason why Stardew Valley is not seen as a Harvest Moon copycat, despite being heavily inspired by it. And that's because it contributed so much original content, it's seen as worthy of being a top farming sim, maybe the top. Another reason for these bland farming sims multiplying is the fact that game companies are releasing unfinished games. I'm gonna sound like a back in my day old lady, but before the time of downloading games, you had to buy a physical copy. Whatever was on that copy was the game. Period. No updates, no patches, so game companies were forced to create finished games. Nowadays, brand new $60 games are released with the idea that if there are any mistakes or bugs, they could just put together a quick update. Or even worse, if the game doesn't feel quite finished, like the developers wanted to add more, but would rather just release it as soon as possible, they are able to rely on releasing updates after the consumer has already bought the product. In other words, we are playing unfinished games. Okay, I just want to make sure everyone understands what I'm trying to say here. I don't want to hate on developers for like fixing problems. Like, I think like it is really great that we're able to get glitches and bugs fixed whenever. If that means less like major pressure on developers to get out a perfect piece of content, like, that's great. I just think with some of these bugs, like if you're about to release a game and it's having bugs that are that bad, like maybe it's just not ready. You know what I mean? This might be a hot take though, and this might be wrong. So please let me know how you guys feel in the comments, and yeah. With that, What cozy games do I think are actually worth it? Now, you may have different tastes as me. Obviously, that's fine. One of my favorite cozy games, Calico, has received quite mixed reviews, mostly complaining about glitches and simply not clicking with the game. Although I just complained about companies releasing unfinished games. Like I said earlier, I'll take a few glitches here and there if the game is at least unique and is taking risks. So many of these copy and paste farming games are too scared or lazy to branch out of the guide they think Stardew Valley made for them. Released in 2020, Calico isn't perfect, and that's a part of the reason why I love it so much. In this relaxing adventure, you are tasked with reviving the town's cat cafe. Immediately, the art style caught my attention, and I genuinely couldn't tell if I loved it or hated it. However, it didn't take long to really start to enjoy it, not to mention the clothes, accessories, and character customization provided. In your cat cafe, you can, of course, have cats, as well as a ton of different types of animals, and yes, you can put them on your head. Added plus, if your character is already wearing a hat when placing a pet on their head, the animal will then wear the hat. Calico is a nice break from all the farming games we've seen so much of recently. The main mechanic is baking. And get this, the baking minigame is genuinely one of the weirdest, most whimsical way they possibly could have went about it. When choosing a recipe, your character shrinks down to mini size and runs all over the tables and shelves, picking up the now giant ingredients and throwing them into a bowl, as well as doing various little mini games in order to decorate. What happens if you fall off the table? One may ask. Oh, a group of mice holding a little trampoline catch you and bounce you right back up. This right here is when I knew this game was something special. Like, are you kidding? How adorable is that? Along with the baking, you can also decorate and furnish your cafe with all kinds of cat and other animal-inspired accents. In this world, magical girls run the show. We have my favorite character design, Autumn, a potion maker who lives in a potion bottle-shaped house, and her backstory is that she accidentally turned herself half cat after a magical experiment gone wrong. Although she doesn't mind. Sunny is another character whose design I am absolutely obsessed with, and of course her girlfriend Blossom as well. Back to the magical aspect, you can collect potions that will, in turn, give you special abilities or just add a fun spin to your gameplay. For example, there is a potion that gives you an ice cream sundae outfit. That's it. One that makes you dance, another that inverts all the colors in the game, make animals big or small, and arguably the most useful one, the broomstick, that allows you to fly all over the map super freaking quick. I love it. I do have cons, of course. I do have to say there are some annoying bugs here and there, such as my game literally crashing when I try to take off my ice cream sundae outfit. Like, this has happened many times. But for the most part, I haven't really run into major game-threatening glitches. Another con about this game is probably the fact that it's a bit too short to me. I finished most of the quests within the first, 2 weeks of having the game. But they did release an update semi-recently. However, I feel like this is yet another incomplete game. However, I do think it's so worth it. Genuinely, it's just one of those games that left an impact on me. Rhapsody, a musical adventure. Continuing this discussion regarding extremely unique games, I must talk about Rhapsody, a musical adventure. This JRPG is not your typical cozy game by any means. However, it's also not your typical JRPG. It's also a musical. There are quests, fighting, magical puppets you can recruit for your team, and musical cutscenes. And I'm pretty confident in saying this game is like nothing you've ever played before. Truly one of a kind. Released in 1998 for the PlayStation, you play as Cornette, a young girl who can talk to puppets and dreams of her and the prince having their happy ending. However, the prince is stolen by an evil witch named Marjorie, who accidentally turns him into stone. Cornette and her puppet entourage now have no choice but to travel around the map and find each special stone that will be the key to rescuing him. As for the game, the 90s anime art style is something I find really pleasing to the eye and honestly really nostalgic. The music is beautiful, although the translated musical cutscenes sound a little silly to me at times. I'm sure it sounds much better in Japanese, its original language. The regular music in the background of the game, though, is something I really love, and I literally love Cornette's horn song so much that I make her play it to the townspeople over and over again. Like, girl is tired. It's just so, I don't know, it's so short. short and it's so sweet, and there's just something about it that warms my heart. I love it so much. The character dialogue is so charming and real to me, and I love Cornette's love-hate relationship with her spoiled childhood friend, Etoile, who literally whips out a gun during her battle, which always catches me by surprise. For reference, Cornette just uses her horn, and the rest of the puppets either use magic or attack, so I just thought this was really funny. And this game isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It actually deals with some serious shit at times. The entire Frogberg arc genuinely had my jaw on the floor, and no spoilers, but I was a bit shocked at how dark of a turn it really took. However, it felt real, and it did have a bit of a bittersweet ending, but some of the events that happened were kind of brutal. I was shocked. Cons, I would probably say how mind-numbingly easy this game can be at times, at least when it comes to the battles. I personally don't mind the difficulty, as I'm more interested in the story. The battles are turn-based, which again, I like, but I know a lot of people don't. Lastly, my absolute biggest gripe with this game, the dungeons. The dungeons. Oh my god. Pretty much every single quest you have to go on involves you running through a maze, each room looking almost exactly the same, and constantly running into surprise attacks. I have genuinely almost started crying because of how frustrating this can be. Not to mention, you can tell that there was a bit of a budget with this game, so each and every dungeon pretty much looks exactly the same, so you're not even getting like a cool and different background to look at through tears as you're finding your way through this shit show. With that, the cons are worth it to me, just because of how much heart was put into this game. If you want an easy and comforting game, but with a little bit more meat to it than your regular slow-moving cozy game, I highly recommend Rhapsody: A Musical Adventure. Cassette Beasts. If you're looking for a good Pokemon-like game with a story that will have you invested as hell, Cassette Beasts may be for you. I call this a cozy game because although you just washed up on a beach of this odd remote island filled with strange monsters and people carrying cassette tapes, this game was such a comfort to me during a weird time in my life. Everyone on this island is hoping to find their way home, although some have completely given up on this fantasy. In order to collect monsters, you record them on your cassette tapes, which is such a cute and unique idea. The music in this game, so comforting and so nostalgic for me as I played this game almost a year ago. The characters are enjoyable and fleshed out. I adore the art style, character customization, the monsters are fun and interesting, and this is another great example of a game clearly inspired by another, Pokemon, specifically the monster battle aspect, but does more than enough to set itself apart from that franchise completely. For example, when a monster levels up to a certain amount, on many occasions you can choose its evolution, or remaster as they call it, which makes it that much cooler. For instance, Bansheep, who I love. A possible starter monster can either remaster into Woltergeist, its ghost version, or Zombleet, its undead version. So freaking creative. Added plus, you get to date. There's a bunch of cool characters you can choose from, and that makes it that much more fun to play. Just realized I didn't talk about my cons for this game, but honestly I don't really have that many, besides the fact that I wish some of the monsters were a little bit more cute. There are some really cute ones, but I do wish more of them were cute, and I wish maybe there were even more romance options and just more romance scenes overall, but that's pretty much it. Harvest Moon DS Cute. I have made an entire video on Harvest Moon DS and DS Cute, released in the US in 2006 and 2008, but I want to talk about it again. If you are just sick of these new farming games just being super bland, no personality, no quirks, no moments that creep you out, you need to play this game. But at the very same time, it is going to test your patience more than any other cozy game you will probably ever play. I think I'm confident in saying that, honestly. Harvest Moon DS Cute is brutal. It's evil, and I love it. The game starts as any other farming game would. You, sleeping in bed, are approached by a goddess and tiny elves who are talking shit about you as you are just sleeping, me, saying how lazy you are and someone needs to do work on this farm. The Harvest King gets involved and reminds the goddess that she promised our deceased mother that we would take over the farm. The goddess calls him bald and he banishes her and all the harvest sprites out of anger. You are now forced to not only work on the farm, but save all the sprites and the goddess. All this happened while you were sleeping, by the way. Like, this has nothing to do with you, but now it's on you. In order to save the goddess, you must save 60 harvest sprites by completing various tasks regarding farm life. This is a lot harder and more time consuming than you may think. Not only that, if you want to get married in this game, you must save 60 harvest sprites first. Let's fucking go. Yeah! Oh my god, I only need one more to go! Most people who have played this game, especially casually, have never been able to actually get married in the game due to how hard it is. I finally was able to marry Sky after over a year on and off, I should say, of playing this game, and it was not for the weak. Anyway, the oddities of this game include the secret marriage candidates you can only talk to over the phone, and when you marry them, the game ends. The weird scientist that keeps a mermaid in his basement, which, if you're playing the boy version, you can marry. However, as mentioned before, she lives outside in one of your little ponds, and there's a bug in the game that if a storm occurs, there's a chance she will disappear and never come back. I do not think this was intentional, since she still shows up to all the festivals. As if nothing ever happened. Not to mention the other secret bachelorettes with many requirements before you get the chance, such as the harvest goddess, Kira, who lives in the mines and doesn't speak, and the witch princess, who is just evil Flurry Moon. Sky was a bachelor specifically made for this game, as most of the other characters are from A Wonderful Life. He's a thief who only comes to town at night, and his romantic cutscenes are based on him sending notes to warn his victims before he robs them. You help the other villagers try to catch him as you and Sky slowly start to fall for each other. This ignited my enemies to lovers' heart. I love it. Anyway, some of his cutscenes are a bit creepy though, because he famously uses his, quote, maiden chick beam power that causes women to not be able to move. Only women. Okay. Anyway, another weird thing, there are bad dreams that you can have in this game, although they are rare, such as the incredibly eerie meat medley dream, where you and the bachelorettes have a weird seance thing repeating meat medley over and over again, and then proceed to eat sheep heads from your farm. Overall, this is the weirdest farming game I've ever played, and although it is incredibly grindy, unforgiving, and repetitive, it holds such a special place in my heart. If you're looking for a farming game with actual personality, this is the one for you. Anyway, that's about it for this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below what you guys think. Thank you to Simply Just Funtastic again for making me such cute end cards and everything, honestly. This is all his information and stuff. He makes sure I have such a cute little Hamtaro-like picture at the end of every single one of my videos. Literally crazy. But yeah, so thank you for that, and yeah, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye!